Yeah.
Hey guys, welcome to my review of the hotly anticipated next entry in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Of course, this one being directed by Sam Raimi of Evil Dead fame, the Spider-Man trilogy with Tobey Maguire. I mean, this guy is a legendary filmmaker. And bringing him into the MCU was a big thing, because obviously Scott Derrickson, who directed the first Doctor Strange, was planning on directing this one, and then something happened creatively, I believe, and they brought in Sam Raimi. And I think Sam Raimi is one of those directors that you don't just bring in to a movie, because his style is so distinct. Even in those Spider-Man movies, those don't feel like corporate products per se. They feel like an actual filmmaker with a vision made them. Well, maybe not the third one. But even then, there's still moments in that feel so much Raimi. Like, it couldn't be anything else. And yeah, so obviously there's so much leading up to this movie. The events of WandaVision, the events of the first Doctor Strange, of course, Avengers Infinity War and Endgame in between. Obviously, Doctor Strange saw that one outlook in which they could win and beat Thanos, and obviously that's where we left off with his story. And so here we are. Of course, this is a multiverse movie, as the MCU has been introducing in Loki and Spider-Man No Way Home and countless of other shows and movies this has been leading up to, and everyone expected this to be the one where they just go absolutely bonkers. In a lot of ways they do. I mean, I think easily the best part about this movie is Sam Raimi. I mean, the visuals that he creates in this film are so distinctly from a auteur filmmaker. It is undeniable. And you don't get a lot of films like that in the MCU, really, because they're all kind of corporate products. But this one feels like Evil Dead 2. Like, there's certain shots that just scream that type of filmmaking in that movie. More so than they even are reminiscent of the Spider-Man movies. Like, this really dips in to the horror side of Sam Raimi as a filmmaker, which I think is great, because this has the most terrifying visuals I've ever seen in any Marvel movie. Yes, this is not for kids. This is not for the faint of heart, I believe. Really, this is like next level visuals, and I know some people have kind of said the visual effects in general are not that great, but I think that this is one of the more standout entries in Marvel's canon when it comes to the visual effects. And of course, because you got the multi-dimensional traveling and transportation, of course you're going to get these wacky worlds in which Doctor Strange and America Chavez go through, and Wanda, just trying to figure out the multiverse and the madness around them. But on that note, does Sam Raimi's style ever get in the way? Because I know that's been a thing where it's like, is this movie going to be style over substance? I don't necessarily think so. I think on reflection, both The Strange and Wanda have really strong arcs, and there's certain reasons that I won't get into right now that I don't necessarily agree with everything they did with the characters. I am going to do a spoiler review. It's not going to take a month for me to put it out, mind you, but and I will say right off the top, I'm not even going to talk about it in my top 10 of the year like I did Spider-Man No Way Home. And that's because I think where this film really falters is the script. Because there's so many things that they set up that seem like they felt like, oh wow, this could be huge for the MCU. So many cool things. And then they're just kind of abandoned. And it just ended up feeling like a tease. And I really appreciate Marvel's flex, putting certain things in the movie that only, they have the budget to do. But I don't necessarily think that makes for a completely compelling narrative. And obviously there's so many great parts about this. Obviously Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange is great. And I think, just seeing where his character goes, he's so reliable in this role, even though some people are kind of like torn on his accent. I think they even make a joke about that. I don't know, but he's really great in this. And of course, I honestly, I think the standout of this movie has to be Elizabeth Olsen as Scarlet Witch, man. I mean, really, what they've been building up with her character for so long, just her performance in these movies just keeps on getting better and better, and they keep giving more to her character. And she really gets the most to do in this movie, I think, by far. She almost is like a co-lead with Doctor Strange here, and yeah, the movie is all the better for it. And of course, I can't pronounce her name, so I'm just going to put it on the screen here. I think the girl who plays America Chavez is really, really good too. Albeit a little bit of a weaker character. I don't think you're really like particularly drawn to her motives and her personality. I think there could have been a little definition there. And of course, Benedict Wong as Wong is always great too. And Rachel McAdams also has a really, really integral part in this role, as she did in the first one. But here they kind of take it to another playing field, if you will. And I think she really adds a lot of support to this film. And what she means to Doctor Strange's character in this movie is really, I think, the most important narrative through line throughout this whole thing. But when it comes to the multiverse, I tell you, as I said, the visuals are so cool, and a lot of things they set up are really interesting. But I don't think it was like as big of a opening portal as everyone would have guessed, in the way, you know, like bringing in Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield in Spider-Man No Way Home. There's nothing like that crazy that everybody's going to lose their minds over. And even the stuff they do bring in, I don't feel like it was executed 100%, as I was kind of mentioning. But, you know, obviously I'll save that for later. As it stands, I think, obviously, the visual effects of this film are amazing. The directing is incredible. I think one of the standout entries in the MCU when it comes to the filmmaking specifically. And, of course, I just have to mention Danny Elfman's score, another great part of this movie. Of course, the longtime composer for Sam Raimi created that iconic Spider-Man theme. And here it comes in again. And honestly, there's one scene that they use Danny Elfman's score just so incredibly, and I can't wait to talk about that. But I also just think some of the ideas in this movie are so creative and so bold that I don't think any other filmmaker in the MCU would have came up with it. Really, some mind-bending stuff in this movie, and I just love, as I said, the horror elements of it. There's some really horrific scenes in this film that I was absolutely shocked that they put in for PG-13, because it really feels much more brutal than that. And yeah, I mean, if you love Sam Raimi, you're going to enjoy this movie. It's certainly better than Spider-Man 3 by quite a long shot. And you know, it's just, you got to see it, see where the MCU's going, see this entry of Doctor Strange. And also, I mean, I just have to mention, I don't think this is a spoiler, but yes, Bruce Campbell's in the movie. And yes, he's kind of the best part of the movie. So, as you may have expected. But yeah, it's Bruce Campbell working with Sam Raimi. You know he's got to be there. So yeah, with all that being said, without getting too much into it, I'm going to give Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness a 7. As I said, some of the coolest stuff I've ever seen in the MCU, but a lot of it kind of left me cold and a little bit unfulfilled at the end. But even so, it's a fun watch. Go check it out, guys. And if you've seen it already, what do you think of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness? Let me know in the comments below. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it a little bit more than I did, but it's still a good watch, as I was saying. And of course, if you like what you're seeing here, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. I'm probably going to bring you a spoiler review as of next week, so be on the lookout for that. And also, there's going to be some really, really exciting reviews coming up soon. And as you know, I mean, I've talked about a lot of albums specifically, but I've never specifically done an album review. And I think what a better way to kick that off than with the newly, hotly released follow-up to Kendrick Lamar's Damn, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. I haven't listened to yet, and I'm just so beyond excited. This is my most anticipated album of the year, and I can't wait to bring you a review of that once I dive into it a little bit more. And yeah, guys, as always, keep watching these videos. Really appreciate the support, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.